fresh meat.
I'm Gimli. Let's break Diablo 2 down to the pixel. In this video, I want to show you how to view the game graphics. We talk about color palettes and the Act 0 specific one and the files of it. And we are talking about the map making software that you need. Let's get into. First, we've extracted last time all the game files, so you can find them in data global tiles, and in here you have the folders for different Act 1s and also the PD2 content. And for example, Act 1 catacombs, you can find in here DS1 files and DT1 files, and the DS1 are the maps and the DT1s are the graphics. And we take a look for example on Andariels. How you can do that: you have the possibility to use a website. It's called Warp Tiles. It's from Frozen Keeper forum. They made it up for the original game, so you can also navigate through here: Act 1, Catacombs, and Ariels, DT1. That's the graphic file. And when you click it, you can see there are multiple files in this one, and there are walls and floor titles. And you can already watch them by browsing in here and take a look at this graphics. It's also working for other acts. You get an idea of what it is. A second option, I've made my own website preview on GitHub, and the addition is they are all Act 0 palettes already. And in addition, we also have guild tiles in here that are not used by the original game, for example. So you can watch them as well. And in here also the extracted files are listed already, so you can't see the DT1 file in here, but it's on the GitHub. It's just about the graphic files and ini files, and like the example we had already, and there it's got multiple ones, so we're having the floor titles on a separate file and the wall titles on a separate file, and they are already Act 0 color palettes. And you can also check out the ini files. They will control the graphic assets, how they are working in game, like you can walk over or some parts of it are blocked or the lightning is blocked, etc, etc. So there's the full control is made by the ini files. But for the graphic overview, just take a look in here and browse it. And like I mentioned as well, you can find the PD2 assets in here. So for example, you can also find the used graphics from the current maps in here. Maybe the naming is a little bit messy to organize, but it's about just having the graphics and what you're gonna use for your own map in here. So this is pretty great job in here. If you want to get these tiles, which are Act 0, we'll talk about in a minute, just go to my GitHub and you can find the Diablo 2 Act 0 color palette in here, and there you have all you need in here, and also the link to the graphic preview. All right, speaking about that, we're having different color profiles. So in this folder there are the old ones stored. That's for the full game, but in our purpose only the Act color palettes are used, and also the Act 0 color palette you can find in here. And I've also made a separate folder for the Act 0 because it's just different file types of this specific color palette. And also I made a variant of this Photoshop color palette which have a gray background. What the color palettes does mean, I have a short example. In our game there is some color palettes that looks like that, and for each act we having always the same kind of. The first color in here is the background color. That means this one is transparent in the later game. Then we have the main colors in here, which are surrounded by blue. They are all equal for each act. And then the bottom one in red corner, we having individual colors that are only used by each individual act. So they differ from act to act. And what this Act Zero color palette does is it collects all the shared colors and it removes all the specific ones. So they are not used in here. And also the original Act Zero color palette is using the cyan color for its background. So the color key is 00FFFFF. And for my purpose or for some older tools for comes in handy, I just changed the first color to a gray, which is 616161. So you can still do what you prefer, but I want to go with the gray one. So this is just for explanation what the Act color palette does mean and why the Act Zero color palette is important. This will kind of lose some colors, so because we are not using these two rows in here, so that means we have a little bit of less colors in our graphics, but the benefit is the graphics can be used on every act. So for example, you can use an Act 1 floor title on Act 5 maps and vice versa, for example, without messing the colors. Speaking about messing colors, I have a cool example in here for the Andariel's floor. So this is the original floor of Andariel, and if you wanna use this in-game and use it on an Act 5 map, it will look like that. So you can see a lot of colors are messed up and it doesn't look any good. Even in-game it does not look good, and that's why the Act Zero color palette comes in here. So this is already converted and you can see that this kind of looks like the original one. And when you take a closer look, you see a very, very small color adjustment in between them, but you hardly can't see it. So that's why the Act Zero color palette comes in handy. You really kind of didn't know no attention to it if they are wrong, right changed. As another example, I have the walls in here as well. So I zoom in a little bit. And as well, if you can see, if you're gonna use the Act 5, it will look like that. So pretty messy the same. And if you wanna use the Act 0 color palette, you can see slightly differences in color variation. But in game, you hardly recognize them. So that's the trade-off of Act 0. So that's up on your choice. If you want to use the original Act color palette, then you're getting more colors, but you are restricted to using only graphics that are used in the same Act, for example. Or if you want to mix something, you hardly have to use the Act Zero color palettes, or you need to transfer them on your own. All right, that's it for explanation about the Act Zero color palette. How do you get them? Like I mentioned, it's on my GitHub, and in here we having the data global tiles folder, and in here you have all the already transferred map titles, so the graphics. So you have the Andariel DT1 file, which is already Act 0, and you also have the extracted floor, wall, and ini file for it. So you can directly work with these files. You don't need to extract them on your own if you want to use this. To get this, just grab the main folder and click here and download zip, and then you have it on your drive and can directly use it. And this is always preferred to use over the original extracted game files because they are already prepared with Act 0 graphic color palette. All right, speaking of software, for PD2 map making, we are gonna use a little bit of different software. First of all, the graphic editor of choice is on you. So even if you use GIMP or Photoshop, Paint Shop, whatever you wanna do, that's a choice up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable with. And for map making, we are starting with DT1 tools. That's like mostly of the tools, batch or console Excel. and this will be triggered with batch files to work with. The DT1 tools got mainly two functions for us. The first one is extracting already existing DT1 files, so we get the graphics and the ini file, and on the other hand, if we have a modified version of graphics and ini files, we can generate a new DT1 file again, which we're gonna use for map making then. So this is kind of import-export for our graphics in the game. The second tool I want to talk about is AFJ's sheet editor. This is a kind of Excel-looking one. The reason is we're having some text files we are gonna edit. You can find them in a data global Excel. And for example, the levels.txt we are need to edit, and when you open this in a text editor, it looks like big and messy and hard to get everything right. And this tool comes in handy when you just open it and it looks like an Excel file and every value is in the same and in the correct spot you need to edit. So this is pretty good tool for that. All right, speaking of the next tool, if we are gonna go in-game into our map, there's always a text aligning called entering this and that area, and this is controlled by text strings, and text strings can be found in table files. So AFJ's table edit is the tool of choice, and we can see we have extracted already some, so they are in data local language English, and that's the patch string table, which is the main one we're gonna edit. And this is the text string for nearly all of the game. So like you can see here, Bartoks, so for menus, items, whatever. And for our purpose, we are taking a look at the T values, which are usually our maps. So this is the map item code, and then you have the text, what item code does this map represent. So you're having the text files in here, and for new maps they need to be added, and you can't this only do by this TBL editor. So that's why this tool comes in. All right, speaking about the next tool, which is DT1 Calc. It's a pretty simple tool. It's just mainly generating us the DT1 mask, which this value is used in the text files later. So if this mask is not calculated properly, you can't enter your map and the game is crashing. And this is usually how it's working, depending on what graphic files you're gonna use in your map. You can choose up to 32 different files you want to use in your map. And for example, if you have only 4 files that you need for your map, then you just activate them and calculate, and you're getting the mask value, and this value will be inserted in the text files, and then you can enter the map. So this is a pretty small tool, but it's needed to get this value. The next tool I want to talk about is the main map editor. It's this one edit. That's the original game editor, and we're having this loader. The loader is a GUI, so graphic user interface for that, comes in handy. And this is the main software we're gonna use for edit our maps. So take care to get this, and here as well we're having documentation, so you don't need to browse the original website from the creator. So you can also watch out this in here and check it out, because all the different hotkeys are kind of described, and what does everything mean and how does it work. So you can check it out in here as well. All right. That's for the main map editor, and the next software tool is TileMaker I want to talk about. TileMaker is also a console application, and this is only used if you want to implement completely new graphics in the game. So if you want to make a map which already existing graphics, you can do so. But if you want to have your own graphic style of map or floor or walls or objects you want to implement in your map, the software basically uses an image, and from this image it creates the DT1 graphics and also a DS1 file, which is the map. And this is just in the DS1 is just the graphics files used in the correct order, that it represents already the image you are imported in here. Um, if you do so, it will always be a walkable floor. So if you have some walls or something, you hardly need to edit graphically the stuff, and also via the ini files that everything is represented correctly in the game and works like it should. But if you want to create some new graphics in game, this tool comes in for you. So maybe check it out. All right, the last two tools I want to talk about are DT1 Studio. Um, so you can use this for defining your ini files a bit more. There's also good documentation in here which describes everything, what the indexes mean, etc., etc. So make sure to check it out. And you can prepare your ini files that they are working in the way they are should. And this is a tool for it. And as alternative to this tool, there's a JavaScript application Erlen does. So shout out to her. And this will run only on a kind of local browser, so it's not a standalone. In my case, I have it on Visual Studio Code, but check out the README. There are different options how to run this. And in this case, I just open the folder and going to live server. And in here, like you see, it's a tool running out of the browser. And you can create your own new ini file in here and add your graphics for floor, for wall, etc. And also in this edit stuff, you can modify the different stuff, like you can walk up through and etc, etc, and also import some stuff and save the graphics, save the ini files. So this is a kind of editor you can work with as well. All right, that's it for the software needed so far. So if you have any other usage, so for animation editing, there are a couple more softwares you're gonna use, or for in-game graphics, you can use DC6, for example. If you wanna make your own icon for your future map or something like that, check it out. So there we're having a lot of tools for Diablo for different cases, but they are the main ones we are gonna use for map making.